What if everything you thought you knew about Diddy was just the surface, and the real story is far darker than anyone imagined? Jaguar Wright has once again set the internet on fire with her shocking revelations, this time about how Diddy allegedly manipulated Hollywood star Terrence Howard in ways that no one saw coming. According to Jaguar, this isn't just another celebrity rumor. This is part of a much bigger pattern of power, control, and psychological manipulation that's been going on behind closed doors in the industry for years. Imagine being one of the biggest actors in Hollywood, celebrated, respected, and admired, and suddenly finding yourself caught in the twisted web of someone who thrives on dominance and influence. Jaguar's claims suggest that what Diddy did to Terrence wasn't random. It was planned, strategic, and deeply personal. In today's breakdown, we're diving deep into these explosive allegations, connecting the dots between Jaguar Wright's insider stories, Terrence Howard's own mysterious interviews, and the long trail of disturbing patterns that keep haunting Diddy's name. Because if what Jaguar says is true, this isn't just about one man's manipulation. It's about how the entertainment industry protects its power players and silences its victims. So grab your seat. This one's going to be intense. Let's get into the dark secret Jaguar. Wright says Diddy never wanted the world to know. In the glittering world of Hollywood, where fame, money, and status define everything, there's always a darker story lurking beneath the lights. And Jaguar Wright, never one to bite her tongue, just dropped one of the boldest claims yet. She says Diddy manipulated Terrence Howard, one of the most respected actors in Hollywood, into something that crossed every moral and psychological boundary imaginable. Now, before we go further, let's get one thing straight. Jaguar Wright has been making headlines for years with her outspoken takes on the music industry's corruption, hidden power plays, and secret agendas. Some call her brave, others say she's reckless. But one thing's for sure, when Jaguar speaks, the industry listens. And this time, she's naming Diddy in connection with Terrence Howard, a man known for his brilliance on screen and his deep, almost spiritual reflections off it. According to Jaguar, Diddy's manipulation wasn't just about control, it was about humiliation and dominance. She claims Diddy has long used his influence and wealth to draw people into compromising situations that could later be used against them. If that sounds dark, that's because it is. Jaguar paints a picture of an industry where power means owning not just people's contracts, but their secrets, their fears, and sometimes their very identity. Terrence Howard, for years, has stood out as a complicated genius, an actor who could transform any role into raw emotion. But behind that talent lies a man who's spoken often about feeling betrayed and misunderstood by Hollywood. In multiple interviews, Terrence hinted that there were forces trying to destroy him, people in the business who didn't want him to speak his truth. At the time, most brushed it off as paranoia or just another celebrity breakdown. But now, in the context of Jaguar's claims, those statements suddenly feel a lot more chilling. Jaguar says the connection between Diddy and Terrence wasn't accidental. It was calculated. She alleges that Diddy, known for his extravagant parties, where music's biggest names would gather behind closed doors, often used these events as a way to test people's boundaries. Some who attended said the energy in those rooms was different, seductive, chaotic, and manipulative all at once. There were whispers of initiation, of secrets traded for opportunities, and of careers made or destroyed, depending on what one was willing to do. If you followed Diddy's long and controversial history, these stories might sound familiar. From former bodyguards and assistants to artists who once called him mentor, many have come forward over the years describing the same pattern: charm, control, and coercion. But Jaguar's version adds another layer: psychological manipulation, especially of men in positions of vulnerability. Now, let's be clear, Terrence Howard hasn't directly confirmed these specific allegations, but he has spoken publicly about being used and lied to by powerful people. In one emotional interview, Terrence talked about losing everything: his money, his reputation, his peace, and said, "They'll make you feel like you're the problem when they're the ones pulling the strings." At the time, fans thought he was talking about studio contracts or Hollywood politics. But Jaguar claims there's more, that these emotional wounds were the result of Diddy's calculated mind games. So what would Diddy gain from manipulating someone like Terrence Howard? According to Jaguar, it's about control, the ultimate power trip. In her words, Diddy doesn't just want to own music, he wants to own people. Their minds, their souls, their fears. She paints Diddy as a man obsessed with psychological dominance, a pattern she says began long before he was a mogul and continues even now. Despite the lawsuits and scandals that follow him like shadows, the allegations don't stop there. Jaguar hints that Terrence wasn't the only one, and that several Hollywood men have found themselves in similar situations, drawn in, broken down, and silenced. She calls it the price of admission in an industry where exposure and blackmail are the real currency. What's most disturbing is how familiar this sounds. The same kinds of accusations have hovered around Diddy for years, often whispered but rarely proven. The parties, the secret footage, the fear, the silence. When you connect the dots, from Cassie's lawsuit to the stories from bodyguards and insiders, you start to see a pattern that feels too consistent to ignore. And that's where Jaguar's story hits hardest. She's not saying this is about one night or one bad decision, she's saying it's a system. A system where young artists, actors, and insiders are drawn into a game they never agreed to play. A game run by people with too much money, too much ego, and too little conscience. For Terrence Howard, that game may have cost him everything. His peace of mind, his trust in the industry, and possibly his career momentum. His silence in recent years has been deafening. While Diddy continues to deny every accusation, the timing of Jaguar's latest claims, coming amid Diddy's legal troubles and public backlash, makes people wonder, is the truth finally coming out? As we move deeper into this story, one question looms large. How many more people will come forward? And if these allegations are true, how deep does Diddy's influence really go? Because according to Jaguar Wright, Terrence Howard's story is just one chapter in a much darker book, one that exposes the real cost of fame in an industry built on secrets and silence. And trust me, in part 2, we're going even deeper. We'll break down how Diddy allegedly used manipulation as a weapon, what insiders have said about his hidden power network, and why so many Hollywood stars seem to vanish after crossing him. This isn't just about gossip anymore. It's about exposing the system behind superstardom. When you look at Diddy's career, it's easy to see the success, the mansions, the platinum records, the celebrity connections. But behind that image, Jaguar Wright claims there's something far more sinister. She says Diddy's not just a businessman or an artist. He's a master manipulator who learned early on how to turn relationships into leverage. In her words, Diddy doesn't build people up, he builds dependence. He makes you think you need him, then he owns you. And that's where her story about Terrence Howard becomes a key piece of a much bigger puzzle. Jaguar suggests Diddy used his charm and influence to lure Terrence into a friendship, one that, over time, became toxic and psychological. She describes how Diddy allegedly tests people, pushing boundaries little by little, using power and prestige as bait. Whether it's offering opportunities, money, or connections, Diddy, she claims, always ensures that the people around him owe him something. This isn't the first time such accusations have been made. Over the years, several insiders, from former bodyguards to ex-artists, have painted a picture of Diddy as someone who thrives on control. They describe a man who can be charismatic one moment and coldly calculating the next. He knows everyone's secrets, and according to some, he makes sure to keep proof, recordings, photos, conversations, just in case anyone dares to cross him. Jaguar Wright ties this directly to what she says happened to Terrence Howard. She believes Diddy used that same tactic, drawing him close, making him comfortable, then creating situations that blurred the line between friendship, manipulation, and something much darker. According to her, these moments were never accidental. They were orchestrated, meant to create emotional and psychological confusion. Now, why would someone like Diddy do that? Jaguar claims it's about control through vulnerability. He breaks people down, she said, so when they look at him, they see both their success and their fear. And if you think that sounds exaggerated, consider this. Multiple people who once worked with Diddy have shared eerily similar experiences. Stories of being manipulated, humiliated, or emotionally exploited, all under the guise of the industry. In each case, there's the same theme: power through secrecy. Power through secrecy. What makes Terrence Howard's alleged connection even more intriguing is his background. Terrence isn't someone easily influenced. He's brilliant, deeply philosophical, and known for questioning everything. In interviews, he's often talked about hidden hands in Hollywood, about systems designed to control creative minds. He once said, "There's an energy in this business that feeds off innocence." When Jaguar's claims resurfaced, Many fans started connecting the dots. Could Terrence have been hinting about this manipulation all along? Was his so-called Hollywood isolation really a withdrawal from something darker? According to Jaguar, yes. She believes that after his alleged experiences with Diddy, Terrence began distancing himself from the industry, choosing peace over fame. And if you notice, his public appearances have become rare, his interviews more reflective, his tone more spiritual. But what's chilling is how similar that is to the pattern seen with others who've reportedly fallen out with Diddy. Jaguar names artists who suddenly vanished, insiders who lost everything, and those who faced public takedowns after speaking out. Whether it's coincidence or something coordinated, the results always look the same. Careers end, credibility collapses, and silence follows. And let's not forget, Diddy's empire has faced multiple lawsuits and scandals that all point toward a recurring theme of power abuse. From Cassie's disturbing lawsuit to leaked testimonies from former employees, the image of the charming mogul has begun to unravel. Yet even now, with so many allegations circling, Diddy remains untouchable, legally protected, financially secure, and socially connected. That's what Jaguar calls the fortress. She says Diddy built a wall of influence so strong that even when the truth surfaces, it doesn't stick. Lawyers, PR teams, and industry allies work overtime to bury stories before they grow legs. It's not just money, it's management of perception. So where does Terrence Howard fit in this fortress? According to Jaguar, Terrence represents the rare few who escaped, barely. She claims he saw too much, experienced too much, and decided to walk away before he became another casualty of Diddy's manipulation machine. She even suggests that some of Terrence's more eccentric public moments were attempts to speak in code, to warn others without naming names. Whether or not that's true, it's undeniable that Terrence Howard's career took a strange turn. From Oscar-nominated performances to sudden blacklisting and rumors of attitude problems, the narrative around him shifted drastically. Hollywood labeled him difficult, but maybe, just maybe, he was difficult because he refused to play the game anymore. Jaguar's version of the story forces us to re-examine how the industry operates. What happens when one person gains so much influence that even the victims stay silent out of fear? When manipulation becomes a business strategy and humiliation becomes entertainment? She argues that this isn't just Diddy's story, it's Hollywood's culture. A place where power is currency and silence is survival. And those who dare to speak up, like Jaguar herself, become targets of ridicule, dismissed as unstable or bitter. But despite that, she keeps talking. And people keep listening. Because whether you believe her or not, one thing is clear. Her stories resonate because they expose a truth people can feel. Something in the entertainment world isn't right. Too many secrets, too many coincidences, too many careers destroyed under mysterious circumstances. One thing is certain. This story is bigger than Diddy and Terrence Howard. It's about an entire system built on exploitation, wrapped in glamour. And as Jaguar continues to peel back the layers, she's not just exposing Diddy's alleged manipulation, she's holding a mirror up to the industry itself. We'll dive deeper into how Diddy allegedly used fear, loyalty, and blackmail to maintain his empire, and what Jaguar says really happens when someone refuses to play his game. Because the closer you get to the truth, the more dangerous it becomes. The deeper you go into Diddy's world, the more it starts to resemble a secret empire. One built not just on business, but on fear. And according to Jaguar Wright, this is the very system that has kept him untouchable for decades. She claims Diddy's real power doesn't come from his music, his wealth, or his fame. It comes from what he knows about people, and how he uses that information to control them. In this part, we're pulling back the curtain on how that control allegedly works. How Diddy, according to insiders, keeps people loyal, silent, and afraid. Jaguar describes Diddy's inner circle as a fear-based hierarchy. Everyone close to him, from artists and managers to assistants and friends, knows that one wrong move could end their career or even put them in danger. She says Diddy doesn't need to threaten people directly anymore. His reputation does it for him. You don't cross Diddy, she said, because you know what happens to people who do. Now, when Jaguar mentions what happens, she's referring to a chilling pattern. People losing deals, being blacklisted, or suddenly having their reputation destroyed after falling out with him. Some call it coincidence. Jaguar calls it strategy. She insists that Diddy has spent years collecting leverage on everyone around him, compromising photos, Private recordings, secret deals, anything that can keep people under his control. And this isn't just rumor. There have been whispers for years about Diddy's infamous after-parties, where phones weren't allowed and NDAs were mandatory. Multiple sources claim those events were more about control and compromise than fun. Jaguar believes those moments were designed to create insurance, to make sure no one could ever turn against him without risking exposure. It's a terrifying thought, but it fits with what we've seen from Diddy's public relationships. Former collaborators like Mati, The Lox, and others have openly accused him of unfair contracts and psychological manipulation. Even artists who once praised him eventually distanced themselves, always with vague comments about toxic energy or fake love. Jaguar connects these dots directly to Terrence Howard's alleged experience. She believes Diddy tried to pull Terrence into that same circle of influence, a world where secrets are currency and vulnerability is weaponized. According to her, Terrence's intelligence and emotional depth made him both valuable and dangerous. Valuable because he could be molded into a loyal ally. Dangerous because he could see through the manipulation. That's why, she says, things took a dark turn. Diddy allegedly tried to break Terrence's confidence, isolating him, confusing him, and making him question his own instincts. Jaguar calls it emotional conditioning, the same tactic cult leaders use to keep followers obedient. She claims that's what Diddy does best: make people dependent on his approval while slowly destroying their sense of independence. And it's not just men who've been caught in that dynamic. Over the past few years, several women, including Cassie, Kim Porter's family, and others, have spoken out or hinted at emotional and physical control behind the scenes. Jaguar argues that this isn't a coincidence. It's a pattern of psychological warfare. What makes it even darker is how Diddy's empire allegedly turns victims into accomplices. Once someone has been compromised, through secrets, footage, or shame, they're forced to protect him. Some become loyal out of fear, others out of self-preservation. Jaguar calls them the guardians of silence. She claims this network extends across Hollywood and the music industry: executives, stylists, producers, and artists, all tied together by secrets too explosive to reveal. And then there's Terrence Howard, the man Jaguar says almost escaped the trap completely. If you look closely at his career trajectory, you start seeing strange coincidences. After Hustle and Flow and Iron Man, Terrence should have become a Hollywood A-lister. But suddenly, he was replaced in sequels, labeled difficult, and slowly pushed to the margins. Jaguar believes this wasn't bad luck, it was punishment. He didn't play the game, she said, so they made sure he paid the price. To her, Terrence's downfall mirrors what happens when anyone refuses Diddy's system. If you resist, you're erased. If you comply, you survive, but at a cost. Let's pause and think about what that means. If even half of Jaguar's claims are true, this isn't just a story about one man's corruption. It's about how fear keeps the entertainment machine running. The illusion of glamour hides a machine built on loyalty through intimidation. And Diddy, she says, sits at the top of that machine, untouchable because everyone who could expose him is trapped by their own secrets. That's why Jaguar's outspokenness feels so disruptive. She's breaking the unspoken rule, the one that says, what happens behind the velvet rope stays there. By naming names and exposing stories, she's challenging a structure designed to keep people silent. And it's working, because for the first time, the public isn't dismissing her as just another conspiracy theorist. They're starting to see patterns: repeated accusations, consistent timelines, similar testimonies. But here's the twist. Diddy's empire isn't collapsing quietly. Every time a new claim surfaces, his legal team fights back hard: denials, defamation warnings, public statements. And that's where the story gets even more dangerous. The higher the walls of silence, the louder the voices trying to break them become. Jaguar knows that. She's been threatened, mocked, and even blacklisted for her claims. But she's still talking, and every new revelation adds fuel to a fire that Diddy's team can't seem to put out. As for Terrence Howard, he's remained mostly silent, focusing on personal projects and spiritual growth. Some say he's protecting himself. Others believe he's quietly healing from whatever he experienced. But one thing's for sure, his silence speaks volumes, and that's the haunting part. Because if Jaguar's right, there are others like Terrence, people who saw too much, felt too much, and walked away. People whose stories could blow the lid off an entire culture of manipulation. If only they had the courage or the safety. To speak, we'll look at how this entire scandal has shaken Hollywood, the ripple effects of Jaguar's revelations, what Diddy's legal future looks like, and how the industry might finally be forced to confront its own darkness. Because in the end, this isn't just about Diddy or Terrence Howard. It's about an empire built on secrets, and what happens when the truth starts to leak through the cracks. So after everything we've uncovered, the manipulation, the fear, the silence, one thing is clear: the truth always finds a way out. Jaguar Wright's revelations may sound wild to some, but the deeper we look, the harder they are to dismiss. Whether you believe every word or not, these stories expose a side of fame most people never see. A world where power can twist into control, and silence becomes a survival tool. If even a fraction of what's been said about Diddy and Terrence Howard is true, then Hollywood has a reckoning coming. And that's why conversations like this matter, because when people speak up, when voices like Jaguar's refuse to be silenced, the illusion starts to crack. Now it's your turn. What do you believe? Is Jaguar Wright exposing a system that's been hidden in plain sight? Or is this just another chapter in the endless saga of celebrity chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No holding back. And if you want to keep digging into the truth behind the fame, the lies, the manipulation, the stories they don't want you to hear, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because trust me, this story is far from over. More insiders are speaking out, and the walls around Diddy's empire are starting to shake. Stay tuned. The next bombshell might drop any moment.